If you love chilling mysteries, unsolved cases, and a touch of mom-style humor, Moms and Mysteries is the podcast you've been searching for. Hey guys, I'm Mandy.
And I'm Melissa. Join us every Tuesday for Moms and Mysteries, your gateway to gripping, well-researched true crime stories. Each week, we deep dive into a variety of mind-boggling cases as we shed light on everything from heists to whodunits. We're your go-to podcast for mysteries with a motherly touch. Subscribe now to Moms and Mysteries wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. We're back to doing weekly news, which means I can go back to shilling this podcast out. Episode 160 of the Wilderness Podcast is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, you can do that at patreon.com/thewildernesspodcast. And our supporter of the week is Sean. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And thank you to everyone who has and is still currently supporting the show. And anyone else who trickles in down the road. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. All right, let's get into our usual programming. Welcome to episode 160 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dilz, and joined with me is Magpie and Heartless. How's it going, fellas?
What's good? Everything's okay here.
Yeah, me too. Doing well.
So this episode, we're finally caught up, and we're back to doing weekly, bi-weekly news, whatever you want to cut it. But we got some fun stuff to talk about today. We got Soul Wars that came out. It was, from what I saw, people were hyped about this minigame. Did it live up to its hype? We'll find out. But there was some issues that comes with it. That always comes with some nice update they bring out. So we'll talk about that as well. And this month, RuneScape turned 20 years old. That's insane. So they have a fun event for that as well. So we'll dive into all of that. But before we start, I guess Magpie will start with you. What's new?
Yeah, so going back a couple weeks, I finished off my Elite Diary grind. I got my Barbarian Assault points all done. I got an extra mining level, and that helped me boost up to get the Runite Golem without it being as much of a pain. So I did my Wilderness Diaries. I got my level 5 and all rolls in Barbarian Assault, which you need for the Kandran Diary. And then with those two 50k experience lamps, I got my 100k runecrafting XP, and then I was able to get a +5 boost to 91 runecrafting, and that gave me the ability to finish off Karamja Elites. So I now only have Mauritania left, and so I'll be just like slowly chugging away at that fishing wise. I'm still technically on the Harmor rebuild, but I had a really lucky week in terms of getting drops, and all in the wild CC. So I'm not going to steal the thunder from Heartless, but I'll let you fill us in, Heartless, on one of the drops. But I basically did a trifecta of the top weapons, which I've only ever done twice now, which is you get like a Sang, a Rapier, and a Scythe all within a short period of time, either back to back or one every day for 3 days straight. So yeah, I was part of a Sang split, a Rapier split, and a Scythe split. And that allowed me to buy back a bunch of my gear. I only have Armadillo left to buy, which has always been my last choice. I bought back my Arcane Spirit Shield, my Dragon Hunter Lance, and Bandos just for Theater of Blood. And then I've been slowly chugging away at Nightmare, doing solos again, slowly losing the will to live. But today I actually got my first unique after being extremely dry, and it was a Nightmare Staff.
So that's
not bad. I thought you were going to say jar, so.
Let's see. Nightmare Staff is 24 mil. Okay, so that's something. That's good. Yeah,
it's a decent drop. It's not the absolute worst thing you can get, but in terms of all the uniques, everything, every other unique I think is over 100 mil. So relatively speaking, it's not the best drop, but I will take it at this point.
Is it also is it more common than the others, or are they all sort of similar drop rate?
I think so. The Nightmare drop table is really funky. It has some weird stuff going on where it's the nightmare staff rolls separately to everything else, and you can roll the nightmare staff and a unique. And like Nightmare's drop table itself is weird in the sense that like depending on the number of people that are in the instance when it starts, the drop rate is different. So yeah, I'll probably like go back and just like keep grinding it for a bit and actually try and get like a decent unique just so I can make my money back. I think I'm still losing money even after getting the nightmare staff. I'm still at a loss for that boss in general. So
What are the staffs going for these days?
24.6 mil, I think, is what mine went for. So
Pretty reasonable.
yeah. Other than that, got my diary grinds done, got a bunch of drops, and now I'm just been I did a bunch of like 3-tick fishing and 3-tick mining just to like practice it. While I was doing my mining, I went to do 3-tick granite, and I think like I've been giving myself carpal tunnel because I go from like prayer flicking nightmare to like 3-tick fishing, and like I've realized like how much I'm putting my hands through in terms of like physical pain, especially because like when I'm in class I'm typing all the time, when I'm doing my readings I'm typing all the time. So
You need to get one of those Gamer Boy gloves. You know what I'm talking about?
I've never actually heard of those. What do they do?
The ones that go up your wrist too.
Yeah, and it's a glove, but it leaves your index and like middle finger open, but every other finger's got like the glove part so that you can.
Oh,
I don't quite know
Yeah.
what they do. Maybe it's
I thought those were like
yeah.
for digital artists. Like it would help like with gripping like a stylus or something.
Maybe it is. Maybe I just saw someone at a computer with it, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's meant for clicking stuff." You know,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there are ones for specifically carpal tunnel.
Let me look up some gamer gloves. What comes up when I type in gamer gloves? Oh, they're like the what are they called? They're like the pressure,
Ergonomic gloves.
no, the compression gloves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Helps to keep the blood flowing.
So I remember a lot of League of Legends players wearing those because they're playing like, you know, it's an intense game. You're always moving your mouse around, and they're playing, you know, huge 10 to 14 hour days playing League.
Jeez.
It catches up to you eventually.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I always find skilling. I try to avoid the sweaty methods just because
Yeah.
I just like to put on a show and just kick back and enjoy the piece of it for a bit, and like a change of pace from PVMing, which is intense.
With most skills, I'm like that. It's just like mining is literally the worst skill like I can ever imagine. I actually realized this like earlier today or a couple days ago when I got my last lamp from the Karamja diary and I could spend it on anything. I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to put this into mining. Like I'm going to put 50,000 experience into mining because I actually hate that skill. Motherlode mine is like the most, like I did the math and it's like if you're doing AFK blood runes, you're getting like maybe 25,000 experience an hour in rune crafting. But if you're doing Motherlode mine and AFKing there, you're only getting like 20,000 mining experience.
Is it
Which
really?
actually probably, well, I don't have the top level unlocked. I don't know if that's going to make a massive difference, but
It does.
Yeah, if you have the hopper, which allows you to dump more ores into it,
Mhm.
it makes it so much better. Because when I was working from home, I am currently working from home, but my first month of this job, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do some motherlode mining, and I did that on the side, and I was able to get from 82 or 83 to 90 over the course of like a month, which is kind of good because I'm not super efficient. It's I have it on the side, but I'm definitely focusing more on working.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just really, really hate Motherlode Mine. Like Motherlode Mine is actually the most depressing place in the game
It's
for me.
not happy.
Why do you guys think that?
So I get really immersed in the game, right? And I like I'm big into immersion in games. So like
Yeah.
I try to see myself in my character's shoes, and I'm just like imagining like agility. You're running from rooftops to rooftop. You know, you're doing like parkour, cool
Yeah,
ass stuff.
that's true.
Fishing. You're just like.
People love fishing, right? People
Yeah.
go fishing all the time. It's a hobby.
Whereas mining, you go to this like weird dark dungeon mine. You've got this
True.
weird like white-haired dwarf shouting at you all the time, telling you to like give him all the ore you mine and stuff. Like you're basically slave labor for this dude.
Man, that's so true.
It's like the most depressing place I can ever imagine. Like actually living, you're basically forced labor at that point.
yeah, that I don't think there's any like happy diamond mines where like people are like having fun mining for diamonds somewhere. They make movies about that, right? And I haven't seen them, but I don't think they're happy.
Well, like the real life story of like blood diamonds and stuff is already pretty grim. So yeah, mining is my least favorite skill in the game. Motherlode mine is my least, like, if you were to ask me the one place in this game, the one location I hate the most, it's Motherlode mine. That place is like the most depressing place I can imagine.
Now, on the verse side though, have you guys seen the movie Ants?
And like the old one that came out like after Bug's Life.
Yeah, it was like Bug's Life, but it was like actually super messed
Bug's
up.
Life, but DreamWorks.
Man,
I
not
remember
just
one.
that though, but it was like, it had some real like weird moments where you're like, wow, this is a lot more darker than Bug's Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
I
gonna
don't
say,
remember it, to be honest.
I remember the ants actually liked to mine, but it wasn't the ants that liked to mine. It was they had that soldier ant that switched spots with a mining ant, and he was all jacked, and he was like, this is great, and he was mining with 2 pickaxes, and he loved it. But it's because the alternative was him going out to battle, and they all died all the time. So that's why he liked it. Oh man, yeah. Okay, maybe mining is a grim skill.
Yeah, I don't like Motherlode Mine because it straddles the awkward line between not AFK and not you have to pay attention all the time because it's inconsistent. So something like agility I don't hate because at least it's consistent. You're clicking every certain amount of time. So you can like kind of AFK and know that you have to be on a pattern. But Motherlode Mine is like you'll be mining a vein of ore and then you could stay there for 30 seconds or you could stay there for 5 and you don't really know. So you always have to be watching, and I really, really dislike that.
True.
And, there's a few other skills that sort of straddle that line. So the reason I didn't really hate ZMI as much as I thought I was going to, because at least it was consistent. So you're just doing the same thing over and over again, which isn't as bad as the same thing over and over again, but the time you're doing it for is varied, which is why I really don't like wood cutting. Wood cutting can be brutal, but fishing is like super AFK, which is strange because you can just be at one fishing spot and get a full inventory. You very rarely are only there for like 5 fish.
I love how there's like alternatives too, where like I was doing anglerfish forever because I was like, oh, this must be decent money, and then it's AFK, and it's a really bad experience. It was like 20K an hour, 15K. I was making like 60K experience a day, and it was like, oh, I'm getting nowhere. But and then I stumbled upon Inferno eels, which is like, oh my god, these are so much better.
Yeah.
They're way better money. They're a little less AFK, but like barely. And the experience is way better.
I actually tried Inferno Eels as well, like while I'm going on this like fishing grind now. I gave it a shot. It's actually not that bad. Yeah, I would recommend it. I went to like the southeast corner of the Moral Wreck because apparently the fishing spots don't change as much on the southeast side. But
There's a guy there with 6 alts in one of the worlds.
Oh my god, is it World 386?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bump into this guy every day. Because if anyone's listening and you guys hang out in the clan chat, a while ago, the poll went out there to dub a clan homeworld, quote unquote, and we landed on 386. So I always hang out there. But yeah, there's a dude, he's got 200 mil experience on one of his accounts for fishing, and he still fishes there.
Yep, grinding.
But he does it so that he can fund his main account that's grinding all 200 mil experiences.
Wild.
And yeah.
Well, gamers be gaming, I guess.
Hell yeah, we gotta send him one of those gloves.
Yep.
But yeah, I going back though, I do think like I love that there's alternatives, and I think it can be grueling when you're focusing on like, and if your goal is like max, it can be grueling like looking at mining and then knowing that your option is like 3-tick granite or maybe power level iron, which both are.
Not a good time.
I've never actually done 3-tick granite. Magpie, how was it? Did you enjoy it?
Honestly, it was kind of fun. Like,
How long?
Until my hand started hurting.
6 minutes.
Yeah, probably. But
It's probably similar to 3-tick chins if I think for the amount of clicks that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heartless, do you do a
there's
bunch of those tick manipulation skilling methods?
I do 3-tick chins because I don't actually think it's much more click intensive than regular chins.
Okay.
And I wouldn't do it doing black chins, but I don't hunt black chins at the moment.
Fair
But
enough.
red chins, yeah, I do 3-tick, and it's fine. I don't mind it at all. But I can only do it for like a few hours before I really get bored.
Yeah, okay.
But I've never done 3-tick mining. I was lucky on my account that I had to mine so much sand that I already have 80 mining. So it just kind of worked out. I did motherload mine to get the coal sack or coal bag or whatever it's called for blast furnace. So that makes making bars a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it makes it twice as fast. So that's definitely worth grabbing. And I grabbed the upper floor as well just so I could chill. But
So
I
what
tried
kind
to
of
avoid it.
what are you going to blast furnace for? Like, what bars are you making?
I'm making all the bars. I make steel bars for cannonballs. I make mithril bars. So I can... Well, actually, I haven't been making many mithril bars. I'm mostly adamant bars.
For
Because
darts?
that's the... for darts, yeah. Darts and bolts.
Mm-hmm.
So I made thousands of those. And then made a bunch of steel. And eventually I will be making rune bars once I get the smithing level for that.
For sure.
Yep. The runite stack is pretty high. I think I have 2,000 rune ore. It's like 20 mil worth.
Yeah,
It's
Shit.
crazy. It just adds up over time. Like you get it from Zulrah, you get it from shamans, you get it from Theater of Blood.
I think that's
Yeah.
one reason why I do enjoy motherlode mining, because it's such you get a variety of different stuff. You'll get all the different ores. You'll get gems sometimes. You get the gold nuggets. It's fun. I always make a little tab and I watch all the ores go up and the GP kind of accumulate. But like, and then versus when I was doing like angler fish, it's like, oh yeah, okay, here's another 28 angler fish, and
Yeah.
it was I don't know, it was less fun to go look at.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's not the best content though. I can agree with Magpies on that. It's an absolute sleeper.
Magpie, do you think you'll go back and continue the 3-tick? Okay, maybe let's explain like what you do for 3-tick mining.
There's a bunch of different actions in the game that are like that need 3 ticks to do, and the way skilling works is if you're doing like certain skills like mining, fishing, woodcutting, the way like you actually chop a log or fish like a fishing spot or like mine ore is every like I think it's like 5 ticks or 6 ticks is a default. Like your character will like roll to get a chance to get that item, and the higher your level, the more likely you are to get an item. That's why like you get more fish the higher your level. With 3 ticking something, what you're doing is you're starting an action that takes up 3 game cycles, so 3 ticks. Like for example, you'll see people with like guam, clean guam and swamp tar in their inventory with a pestle and mortar, because making guam tar is one of them. Another one is like attaching kebit spikes. So that's one way of doing it. And what that does is like when you do that 3-tick action, if you start it and then click on a fishing spot or click on like an ore to mine, your character will just immediately roll a chance to like get that fish or get the ore. So you're getting an XP drop faster, you're fishing way faster, so you're what's called tick manipulating. You're manipulating the game so that you're actually catching stuff like almost twice as fast as you normally would. So there's that. Another way of doing it, and I actually tried doing this earlier this week as well, because I was practicing like seeing what I enjoyed doing more. And 2-tick fishing is another thing. Like you can do 2-tick wood cutting or 2-tick fishing, and what that involves is taking damage from like an enemy. Like you can like use the rats in Piscarilius to line them up so that they hit you once every 2 game cycles. And if you do that, you can fish every 2 ticks, and you can catch swordfish like that. So,
It's a wild method. 2-tick teaks as well on.
Yeah, you can do that on
Monkey Madness 2 completion.
Ipital. Yeah, with the birds over there. So, they're just ways of tick manipulating. It turns skilling into a little bit more of a skill-based thing instead of more of like an AFK activity, which is nice. But it does wreck your hands. It's definitely it's definitely not something I would do consistently. But I just like wanted to be better at it.
It's really hard to keep it up for a long period of time, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually enjoyed 3-tick granite. Like it was not too bad. And once you like start to get better at it, you're like, huh, okay, now I gotta like notice the pattern of like I need to go down these 3 rocks at a time. And like you can start dropping fish as you're like fishing or dropping ore as you're mining. And it gets pretty fun, but it's still annoying. It's still mining. You're like, at the end of the day, you're just making something slightly more fun and slightly quicker, but you still hate your life doing it.
Fair enough.
Should we jump back to the trifecta and finish off the story?
Yeah, do it up.
Basically, so what did you get first? You got the rapier first with someone else?
Yeah, I think we got a 3-man rapier, And then
which
the next
sells
day,
for 150 mil.
Yep. And then the next day we did a somewhat scuffed raid. There was like one death for everyone except 40, I think. And I got a Sanguinesi staff, which is basically the best drop I could ask for from Theater of Blood.
98 mil, but you're an Iron Man. You got to keep that item, right?
I did, yeah. It's just over 100 mil, so I sold it. I just split everyone out on my main because I have quite a bit of cash left over. So, and they're going to use it better than I am. So I'm perfectly happy to split my friends out.
Nice.
Which is a luxury that not most irons have, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's an insane weapon. It's basically like a Trident of the Swamp for damage, but it also has like a 1 in 6 chance to heal you. For is it half the damage, Magpies, that you deal?
Yeah, 1 in 6, and it's also stronger than a Trident.
Okay, it's a bit stronger. So it's like basically an irreplaceable weapon. Whereas Scythe, I mean, it's expensive to run. It's very good. The Rapier is basically just a stab version of the Tentacle Whip.
Yeah.
But the Sanguinesti staff is essentially irreplaceable in the game. You know, Defender replaces a Vernic. It's worse, but same thing. I just don't think an Iron can ask for a much better item than a Sang. It's really, really expensive to run. Every cast is 3 Blood Runes. So that means I have to either be really rich and buy Blood Runes or craft them myself. So
Nice.
I've been crafting a little bit, but it's nice. I'm going to use it like nichely, maybe solo raids and things like that, where it's super useful.
Well, yeah, it unlocks like a bunch more content for you to do.
Nightmare and yeah, there's lots of places I can use it.
That's amazing.
So it looks like I'll be AFK and Bloods on the side.
And then you got a third, right?
Yeah, and then he got the Scythe as well.
Scythe.
Yeah, Magpies did.
And the Scythe
after.
is 686 mil. Wow, it dropped.
So you made a nice chunk of cash this week. That's
Yep.
sweet though.
And I actually, at one point, I could not pay. I died at Nightmare once, and I could not pay for the 60k chest. I was still broke as hell.
That's funny.
Oh no.
But I'm like cash broke. Like, I definitely am really swimming in the drops when it comes to money. But still dry in Chambers, still technically dry in Nightmare, even though I saw an item, like I'm still above the drop rate, but I can't complain.
That reminds me, I got another 2 Arcane Prayer Scrolls at Chambers, and I'm up to 5 in a row now.
Yeah.
But you've had another couple great drops, though.
That's true, yeah. I can't complain about that luck when I'm getting other stuff, because I've been doing Sarah as well, so on 500 and some, I think 30 KC or something, I got the Armadillo Crossbow.
Damn.
That was pretty sick. So that's about on rate for the bow. But I haven't seen a hilt yet, so it was about double rate to see either one.
Armadillo crossbow, about 30 mil. So yeah, wow.
Yeah,
that's
so it's
sweet.
a nice weapon to have. Best in slot for Bandos, and it'll be nice for Kriara. It's a good weapon to have, and I'll most likely be doing Inferno with it at some point, unless I get lucky and get a T-bow.
True.
So yeah, it's been a good week. Been grinding.
Yeah.
I also tried out Bandos. So the God Wars instance, I gotta say, it's top tier, and there's essentially no issue finding a world even at Bandos. Most basically the first world you go to, you can hop a few times and you'll find one.
That's awesome. And now these are just for Iron Man and Ultimate Iron Man, right?
Yeah, so you get your kill count like everyone else. So it wasn't like I thought when you climbed on the rope, it's instance. The actual room is instance. So you'll walk up to the room, to the door of God Wars dungeon after you got your KC, and there'll be a brazier there. And if the brazier isn't lit, then that means the instance is empty, and only Iron Man can see the brazier.
So that's pretty cool.
So if the brazier is not lit, then you click on the door and you'll enter an instance room, and Bandos will spawn in the middle, and then there'll be a delay, and then the minions will spawn. And the same, I've done a lot of Sarah since as well, and it's the same thing for Sarah. So it'll always spawn in its normal spot and then walk towards you. The only thing is the first cycle you won't be able to like set up in a specific spot. You'll have to work from the door.
Word. Okay.
But it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So it's been great. You can just bang out KC and then immediately go into Bandos. So I was getting like, at least, I think last night I did a full hour and I got like 16 kills, maybe a little bit more. So which is great. Now I was just doing the range method with the ACB. It was nice.
And you can get 16 kills in one trip?
I get about 7 to 8 kills in one trip. And
Okay.
I'm not good at the 6-0. This is a 6-0 method, which basically means you're kiting Bandos around the room and you're hitting him 6 times and he's hitting you 0 times. I'm not perfect at it. I only get it half the time. I end up doing 3-1, so he hits me once on each corner, but I just pray flick it.
Okay.
And It's actually reasonably chill. But I think if I could optimize, I could get maybe 12 kills. Would be more reasonable.
Nice.
Do you remember the day before you got your armor crossbow and we were talking in voice and you were like deciding what method of bandos to do, whether like mage or melee? And I was like, oh, you should try this like diagonal. I don't know if that's the same as like the 6-0, but it's like a diagonal.
The red X is the diagonal method.
Yeah,
it's a little bit different.
So I was like, Heartless, you should try this diagonal method. And you were like, no, I don't have an ACB. And now I remember like the moment you got it, I think I told you like, you have no excuse now, you got to try it.
Yeah, I'll give it a go as well. I've tried mage. Even though I have like, not best install, but I have very damn good mage gear with the Sanguine ST and an imbued heart. It's so sketchy. I just didn't like it because if you miss the freeze, if you miss like 2 or 3 freezes in a row and then you start tanking a little bit of damage from the minions because you're only wearing robes, it can get really, really chaotic. And I didn't like the feeling of like chugging brews and food, running around the rooms trying to stay alive, trying to catch freezes when you're brewed down. It just wasn't a good time.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's my preferred method. And then melee is like chill enough because most people know how to melee fairly comfortably. But if he ranges you with his special, you just take so much damage. So I think range is the most chill because you don't get hit very often. So you're not because bandos can really stack you out.
Yeah.
If you're doing melee. And now with it only takes like 2 or 3 minutes to get kill count, especially with Blood Barrage, and the goblins and hobgoblins are just everywhere.
Yeah, that's what's nice about bandos, and that's why I think a lot of groups, when you're like, if a new player is looking to get into bossing and they're like, let's go to God Wars, and they get a group, it's usually like bandos, because one, it's like, it's pretty chill, and it's got some decent drops, but also just getting the kill count is so much easier than any of the other ones.
Yeah, exactly. It has great drops, good kill count. Those are totally the factors, and it's not very difficult in the group.
No.
Yeah. If Zammy had a better drop table, then probably you'd see a bit more balance because like you could just kill imps for Zamrock as well, but because it's so bad to kill Zamrock, like everybody's just gonna go for bandos.
Yeah. You imagine if the Staff of the Dead was worth 20 mil, then I think you'd see a lot of people there.
Should be worth 20 mil, to be honest. It's a really good weapon. It's a really underrated weapon.
Yeah, if you get any turn to this, the only thing is that I think that puts people off of it is that you can't auto cast. And that makes it, I mean, obviously it would make the, not Kodai, but it would make the Kodai drop, and it would make, because you'd use it on Slayer tasks, right? But right now you have to click every time, and people don't like that.
Yeah.
It would make the Master Wand irrelevant, is what I'm saying.
True.
Which it kind of already is.
Yeah. Master Wand's kind of ass.
So I don't know. It's, I wish it could auto-cast. It can auto-cast like Flames of Zamorak, and then if you put the Staff of the, if you put Seraphim's Light on it, I think it can cast Seraph Flames or whatever it's called. But
yeah, the
I don't
lightning.
think those are very.
And then they have, I think, the Claws of Guthix, right? From
yeah, I know my friend Wheeze has one, and he's an Iron Man, and he's low on scales all the time because he finished Silver early and then went Dryad Shamans.
Word.
But he used it at Barrows, I think, and that was pretty cool. But that's basically like the only place he'd ever use it.
True.
It's actually really good, like, budget Kodai for a bunch of different, like, anytime you want a hybrid, like, if you take it to PvP, you want to catch an Ice Barrage, it's actually not a bad +1 weapon, because it's got really good melee stats, and...
people take Toxic Staff of the Dead all the time.
Yeah, it's on par with the Dragon Long.
Yeah.
And it venoms your opponents, too, which is wild, so you do see quite a lot in PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But unfortunately, PvP doesn't make items expensive anymore, because you see the price of an Armadyl Godsword is like 8 or 9 mil, and it used to be 70 mil for that thing.
Oh boy.
And what's another classic PvP item? The Dragon Crossbow, super cheap, basically just used in PvE.
On the Verse side, Granite Maul making a comeback in their price, 150 mil. What?
And that's to do with LMS botting, though. That's not to do with...
Yeah, 150k, I should say, not 150 mil.
It was 300k this summer. I remember getting 2 back-to-back, and I was like, whoa, why are they green text for me right now? Yep, it's because they're 300k, or they were.
They're like 20k or something, 50k maybe.
They were ALC value for a long time. They were 50k.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cool that they've gotten a rise that makes Baby Pure peeking, I guess, better.
Oh yeah, because
that's because of the Ornate Maul and the nerf of the Granite Maul earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dilz, what about you? How's your week been?
It's been fun. So yeah, I went back. I went to Last Man Standing. I got my win whenever that was, and I was like, you know what? Let's grind to 100 wins. But not just that. I noticed that my account. So everyone like if you look on the high scores, there's a Last Man Standing rating, and it's just a score, and the score isn't like it doesn't really make sense, and I couldn't find anywhere of a breakdown of like how do you increase your score by 1 point? Like what do kills contribute to that? What do placing in the bracket, like in your match, like if you come in the top 5, does that affect it? Does winning affect it? Like where do the points get distributed? And I couldn't find anything. And I noticed my Last Man Standing rating was not even on the scoreboards. And if you basically do one match and you go like completely even, you'll just be at 500 ratings. That's what everyone starts with. And then you'll be on the high scores. And so I was like messaging Jagex being like, my account's bugged. I'm not on the high scores. What's going on here? I'm like sweating, like freaking out. Like where's my Last Man Standing ranking? I got my one win. And then it turns out that I must have forgot how bad I was when I was learning, and I just completely tanked my rating. So it was like, I tanked it really hard, and I just had to like spend so much time bringing myself above 500 points again.
But you're back above 500 now?
I got back above 500, sitting at a pretty, let me find it. I'm sitting at a pretty 508. That's
nice.
Right.
You got 8 points worth of cushion.
Yeah, exactly. But when I went to Last Man Standing to kind of grind out some more scores, because I want to appear back on there, because getting a win is hard, and I got one win, and I also appear in like the top 5 enough that it like I don't feel like trash, but I'm still trash enough that like getting my rating to 508, that's great. But if I go spend the rest of this day going to Last Man Standing, there's a very good chance I'm going to drop back below 500 because I'll just get my ass kicked in a few matches.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I went there grinding, and there's a few worlds for Last Man Standing. There's 3. And they have Australian, UK, and then a North American worlds. And then one of those worlds is the free to play. And I assume these switch monthly or weekly or bi-weekly. I'm not too sure what it is, but I assume they are. And I guess we'll find out as time goes on when we see that in the news, maybe this week, who knows? But the North American world was in a free to play. So I went to free to play, and man, they have Last Man Standing has such a crazy botting issue. You guys are aware of like, I guess the bots?
Yeah, you just have like a bunch of different, like I know there's some like super basic bots, and then you have like some players on pretty much bot like level clients which like switch their prayers for them and stuff. And then you have like just like your basic bots that just like sit there and try to cheese out points for Swiftblade or whatever it is.
Yeah, because you can get I think you get 1 point when you kill someone, and then you also get 1 point if you stayed in the match for, I don't know, long enough. And when they first did the Last Man Standing rework, however long ago, and I did it back in like, let's say March, I did encounter the bots that you would attack them, and they would just camp like range prayer, and then they would just straight up range you the whole time. They'll just be on auto retaliate, and they'll eat food whenever they take damage. So it was an easy win for you because you could tri-brid them out of their prayers and they'll hopefully KO them, or they'll just eventually run out of prayer because they'll run out of food because they're not changing prayers and they're not changing weapons. And then you get a free kill, you get a key, so you get to upgrade your armor. But then when I went to the free-to-play worlds, there was like a whole different botting issue that I had never seen before. And and I was talking to someone, and it was so interesting how it did it. So I assume it was one person, or maybe it's a small number of people, but they would log on to like hundreds of bots. They'd have hundreds of bots all flooding into the Last Man Standing waiting room, and then the match would start. And then so when the match starts, it does like a 5-second countdown so that you can kind of brew up and get your prayers ready. But once that countdown stopped, all the bots would log out, except for what I found out later is all the bots would log out except for like one or two that were in that match. What this person was doing was trying to like, they were hoping to get a match of 25 people started where all 25 people are his bots.
Yeah.
And then he would log them all out except for one, and that person would win and they'd get some points. So I think part of the reason I was able to climb up the ranking really easy is because I would join one of these matches. Suddenly, half the lobby would just log out, and next thing you know, I'm in the top 50% for this match. I'm like, hey, look at this. So that helped me. But I was so surprised that this was someone's method, because later on, I went back to that same world in free to play, and there's no bots. So it must be like one or two people who are using all these bots, because if they're not actually sitting there doing it, then there's no bots. Like, it was completely empty. So it was,
or maybe Jagex banned them, hopefully.
Maybe that too. But it was just so interesting to go from, let's say, Friday night I went and tons of bots, but then I'd come log in on Saturday and there's no bots. And it was actually kind of an issue because I would have to wait in the lobby for enough people to join. Like, you'd have to wait 2 minutes sometimes for a match to start. Whereas when there was a bot, they were instant. Bam, 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 bam. Matches were starting so fast. Anyways, that was crazy. That was kind of interesting that somebody set up a bot system like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I wonder what other sort of, like, we all know of, like, woodcut bots, like the bots that are just doing some skills, or they're like, I mentioned a week or last episode or the episodes before about bots that sit in the GE and pick up stuff. And I know there's bots that sit in, what used to be the bounty hunter worlds, and they'd pick up food and stuff when it dropped when people died.
I was just gonna say, like, you've got this history of like uncovering bot farms now. Like, you've done it like 3 or 4 times now. We're just like, I think I found like a bot farm thing. Who's the one YouTuber that like uncovers these like bot networks or whatever?
Sir Pugger.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it should work for him. You should be his temp or something.
That'd be sweet. I'll be an intern.
Oh yeah.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, maybe we'll do some undercover detective work, and then we'll leak all that information onto the podcast. But yeah, that was my encounter with Last Man Standing. Besides that, I've been doing my medium clues, which I'm working towards 400. I'm currently like 150 clues into it. I started at like 50, but I've been tracking my clues, and that's been pretty fun to see, like, if I'm making money or losing money. But I really lucked out, and I'm easily gonna make money now because I got Ranger boots at like 100 clue counts.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so those are about 40 mil, so I was super stoked there. So yeah, I'm still on that grind. And then the only other notable thing is I accidentally got 99 farming when I was doing raids, because I wanted to keep it, my 98 farming, to have like a party at some point, but I messed up and accidentally got it at raids when I was farming in Chambers of Xeric. So
welcome to the club.
Yeah, no pet, unfortunately, so I might continue grinding for that. I'm not too sure yet, but in the meantime, I cleared out a lot of bank space and planted my spirit trees so I can finally use those. And I've gotten so used to teleports that whenever I encounter a clue scroll that I can't immediately teleport to the location, it throws me off. And Port Sarum was one of them. I always had to teleport to Remington and walk, and I was like, why is there no teleports to Port Sarum? But thankfully now I got the spirit tree.
I don't want to like burst your bubble, but I think you could have like boosted up to 99 farming to plant more spirit trees, I'm pretty sure.
There also is a teleport to Port Sarum if you use the rat pit.
Yeah.
Teleport. Okay,
yeah, so it did have that, but unfortunately, like, as I'm running clues, like, you're on like a 20-minute cooldown once you use that.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
But anyways, now I have the spirit tree, so that was kind of my answer as well.
That's good. Yeah, that's what I use too.
That's pretty nice.
I can't believe more people in the game don't use. Okay, one of my favorite banks in the game is the tier 3 farming guild, because if you have the spirit tree there and then you have the spirit tree in your house, you can do some pretty janky things. So like one thing I like to do is I don't bring a teleport. Like most people bring 2 Trollheim teleports to go to God of War Dungeon, then revert 1.
Okay, right.
Back for a house tele so they can get out. What I like to do at Sarah is bring an extra prayer potion instead, and start and pre-pot at the farming guild bank. Go to the spirit tree in my house. Then now I'm in my house. I jump in the troll portal, the one that brings you to the patch on the top of the mountain there, and then I just run to the God Wars dungeon. And then at some point near the end of the kill, I pick up some law runes from Sarah, and then I'll just telly back out using those. Or if I don't get any, I'll just teleport using the altar and then
do you not just
telly.
Do the thing where you just like teleport to Trollheim, drop some brews, and then teleport back to your POH, pick up like grab some extra brews, and teleport back to Trollheim?
That would also work for sure. Yeah, that's another method. But either way, then you'll have. I guess you'd be good then, Stu. That's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Gotta save that inventory space.
Yeah.
But
you use less Nightmare Zone points.
I know that's where I'm at. I need more scrolls of redirect so I can teleport more places. I'm running low.
The less house tabs I have to make, the happier I am. That's not a good time. To mine soft clay and then make them on your lectern. No.
Yeah, that's rough. But one thing I wanted to mention before we move on to the news, though, but I assume we all use Runelight, right?
Yep.
Heartless, you're on the Runelight train, right?
Yep, I'm on Runelight.
Okay, scare me there for a moment. Yeah, we all abandoned OS Buddy. So if you're maybe a new player or if you're not playing using the Runelight client on your computer, holy shit, it's amazing. And like I found out that you can connect you can connect your Runelight to your like Gmail account, and then whatever computer you go to, it has all the same settings.
Yep.
So I didn't even know.
It tracks all of your loot from all time.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing before. Now it's tracking all, because I play between like my laptop and like my computer sometimes, and I normally had to like not do certain bosses on my laptop. Like when we were doing the bingo thing, I would not be able to do Venenatis on my laptop because I was too lazy to go remark the tiles that I needed to use in order to do the safe spot. So yeah, with Runelight, you can mark specific tiles so that you're like, oh, I know that when I'm doing this boss, I should always stand here and move to here. So when you spend the time marking it on one computer, it's amazing that it links it all together. It's awesome. So anyways, I linked it together, but then I also went on a little bit of a plugin spree. Similar to like if anyone ever plays Skyrim on their computer, when you like first start, it's like you have to download 100 mods. Usually by then the day's over and you don't have time to play Skyrim anymore. But so I did the same thing with this, where I jumped on and started checking out all these different plugins, and man, they're so awesome. Like there's so many cool ones. I just picked one up for my eclectic jars that it tracks how much money I spend. Like when I open up an eclectic jar, an imp jar, it'll like put me in the negatives of like 4K, however much it's worth. And then when you open up the clue chest or whatever rewards you get from it, it evens it out. So I can like in small bursts see if I've made profit off these 10 clue scrolls just on this little tab that's keeping track of it. Oh man, I love it so much. It makes it so much more fun. Like, oh man, is this gonna pull me out of my negative 500K slump that I'm in with these eclectics? And then, you get maybe ranger boots, and that helps a lot. But anywho, so I just want to put it out the PSA there. If you're not on Runelight, man, with the introduction of these external plugins that you can do, and I from what I'm aware of, they've all been approved and they're all safe. None of these will get you banned if you're not going on to like some other source or downloading some cheat client. So you gotta be aware. But if you do have to download the Runelight client, there's a runelight.com, which most people think is the official one, but it's not. That shit will scam you. Yeah,
runelight.net is the official link.
So be super careful. Maybe check on Twitter. I'm sure you'll be able to tell the difference between a cheat one and a non-cheat one. But yeah, anyways, in a nutshell, that was basically my week right there. A lot of random good stuff. I'm at about 800 something mil bank worth. So I'm getting close to a Tebow. At some point, at some point when I get to it, at like 1.2 bill worth, I would like to do.
Ran some Theater of Blood with me the other day.
Yeah,
too.
we ran a little bit of Theater of Blood because I was like, you know what, I'm kind of close. I was talking to someone in the CC about they were getting close to a Tebow rebuild, and I was like, shit, you know what? Let's race. First one to the Tebow. Let's do it. So I was like, I gotta get my ass together. I gotta get my act together and start raiding again. Got to raid with the boys. So yesterday, that's all I did. I played for like 6 hours and then get off my chair, and I was like, oh my god, I haven't done this in a long time. Where I just like hardcore gamed all day. And
I think I was at the gym and I like tried tuning in for a little bit and tried to watch, because I think you were sharing your screen at one point in the Discord. I was just like in between sets, just like watching you do theater. It was great until like I realized how loud the ice barrage sound is when you're like
Oh my
listening on
God.
mobile. And so I'm like mid set with like a bunch of weights doing like a bench press and like slowly losing my hearing, not able to do anything about it until I put the weights down and like re-rack my weights.
You're just like, I'm also getting ice barraged.
PKers just coming for you at the gym.
Oh yeah.
And we got a purple as well. We got a little Justy Helm split.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
exciting.
nice.
So I got super
bad.
pumped. And it's one thing that I noticed. It was like the contrast of getting drops. I mentioned some odd episodes ago, but back in April, I got the Blade of Saildor on like 10 KC from the Gauntlet. And that thing's worth like 100. I sold it for like 125 mil. When I got it though, I think it was because I was a little burnt out of the game. I was a little like not, I hate to repeat myself, but when you're on that money grind,
Yeah, it's not fun.
it's hard to get super excited. And it's like, oh, 125 mil. Yes, now I'm only 900 mil away from whatever it is I need to buy.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got it and I was like, oh, I was literally like, oh, that's cool. Like my heart rate didn't change at all. And I was like, wow, that's neat, but whatever. But when I got the Rangers today, or not today, when I got the Rangers last week, I kind of had a little bit of a freak out. Like I was like, oh shit. Like my heart
Yeah.
rate jumped up a bit and I was like, I think it was because I was I'm paying a lot of attention to my collection log as I do my medium clues. And I'm getting excited for when I get uniques to fill it out a little bit. So I think that played a little bit of a role in it. And then same with Theater of Blood, which was like, we saw the purple chest and I was like, oh my God, let's not open it right away. Give me 5 minutes to fantasize what I'm going to do with the scythe. And then of course
Yeah.
it was,
It's exciting for what it can be. That's the fun part about purples.
yeah, exactly.
I really wish Chambers did their. Obviously, they learned from Chambers,
Uh-huh.
but I love the way the loot system is at Theater of Blood. It's so much more exciting.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking
it's-
of which, actually, there is an external plugin if you want to tie around that actually like obscures the drop that you get in the game chat. I know most people like turn off the game chat before they finish the raid so that if they get a purple, they don't spoil for themselves. But there's a
Problem
there's
is your teammates will spoil it for you sometimes as well. I find your teammates were like, they'll type like LOL and you're like, oh great, I got an arcane. You know?
yeah. Yeah.
But still that excitement. Yeah, I have that plugin too. It'll be question mark in place of where the item is. The item text, right? Well, that's one that I
Yeah.
have.
Is that a plugin?
Yeah, it's
That's an
an
external plugin.
external plugin.
Oh my
so
god, what's it called? Because my friend Carlos, I think he accidentally turned that on and then never realized because he kept sending us messages like, why am I getting this? He got a twisted bow and a 3-man. He didn't know he'd gotten a twisted bow, and the guys he was with were just freaking out.
really, and he's like, oh my God, what happened?
They could have straight scammed him. We would have never known.
Wow. That's
Yeah, I think he accidentally turned it on, so I'll have to get him to look into that. Thanks for the tip.
There's some very cool plugins, and that's why I get excited. They have one that changes. It's a little buggy from what I've heard, but it's getting better, and it'll probably get to a better spot as time goes on. But it'll change the music tracks to play the OSRS Beats version of the song.
I was just talking about this to somebody. I was like, wow, there's even like one of the plugins lets you completely remix the music. That's amazing.
There's a plugin that you can turn it on. It'll make everyone around you dance. So like if I got that 99 farming and I had this plugin and I didn't have a party, that's okay. I'll turn on this plugin. Everyone in the raid suddenly is going to be dancing on my screen, and you're like, "There's my party," right?
Kind of sad though.
It's sad,
sure.
but also very happy because who doesn't like to dance? And they got a ton of cool shit.
Yeah.
So very cool stuff. So my little PSA, check out RuneLight, and then definitely get excited, have fun with all the external plugins. And then when you go to mobile, you don't have any of those, and you can be like, I hate this.
Yep.
That's a sad byproduct. All right, let's move on to the news though. We got some fun stuff to talk about, and I'm excited to finally be on track of relevant news. So let's jump into it. So the very first dev blog, Soul Wars and the 20th anniversary event. So Soul Wars is a mini game that got released. It was introduced in, don't have the year on me right now, but it was back in like 2009 or something when it first came out in the dark ages, I guess maybe you want to call it. Yeah, the RS2 ages. And people loved it apparently. So a lot of people have been asking for it to be finally released in OSRS, and it finally came out. not to go into all the different mechanics, but the best way to put it is it reminds me of Castle Wars, but instead of stealing a flag and returning it to your base, instead you're killing the enemy's boss. Like they have a boss monster you have to kill. First team to kill the others 5 times wins. And then there's mechanics where there's like an area where there's ghosts and you can kill the ghost NPCs. They drop these like soul fragments, which you can then turn into this obelisk. Now your team has to be controlling the obelisk, and if they are, you can put the soul fragments in, and it'll make the enemy's boss a little bit weaker, which makes it easier for your team to kill it.
So is it like a MOBA kind of thing? That's what I always envision it to be. You know, like I've never really fully played League of Legends. I guess Heartless would be able to like break it down a little bit, but it sounds like MOBA mechanics where you have like little mobs that your team can kill.
On paper, it has everything a MOBA would have, like League of Legends, but when you play it, it definitely does not feel like a MOBA at all. I think part of it is that you can have, I'm sure I can't find it right here, but you can have like, you can have 60 people in a match, I believe it is. It looks like you can have 60 people on a team. Anyway, so you have a ton of people on both teams, is what I'm trying to say, and it's chaotic. Whereas like a MOBA, I feel like you might be able to get that feeling if it was a 5 versus 5.
And there's less of a power imbalance in a MOBA, especially at the beginning. It's more skill, but
exactly
there's huge power imbalances in Soul Wars. Yeah,
so we'll quickly go through what the rewards are, because when you complete Soul Wars, you'll get these things called Zeals, which are very similar to like Castle Wars tickets. The winning team will get some, the losing team gets not as many. And there's also an activity bar similar to like fishing trawler or pest control, so that you can't just AFK your time in there. But the way you can get Zeal is by killing the opposing players. You get more Zeal for killing stronger players, and weaker players will give you like little or even sometimes no Zeal at all. When you kill the same player multiple times, you will get a reduction in how much Zeal you're rewarded, and this is to prevent farming. You can heal team members, which will give you a little bit of Zeal. You can bury bones of your teams. You can bury bones, which will help you as well. Sacrificing soul fragments to add the soul obelisk, which you can get from the NPCs there. Dealing damage to your opposing team's avatar, which is the boss, and capturing graveyards or the soul obelisk in the middle.
Yeah.
And with those Zeals, you can exchange them for experience in your combat skills. You can imbue items there. So instead of going to Nightmare Zone, you can instead come to Soul Wars if you want to actually have more fun. And you can do your Berserker rings, your Slayer masks, Slayer helmets, whatever it is. And then there's 3 unique items you can get. One is the Soul Wars cape, which is the best in slot prayer cape that costs 2,500 tokens or Zeal. You get the Ectoplasmator, which, let me read it here. When you carry this spooky device in your inventory, you'll get extra prayer experience when killing ghostly creatures. The experience given is scales with the health of the creature in question, and you need 40 prayer to equip it. Yep. So that's a cool little item. And then you get Spoils of War, which will give you random loot, basically a loot box, because we love loot boxes in this game. And it has a small chance of giving you a pet, which the pet looks pretty cool. And it just basically looks like the bosses. There's 2 different bosses depending on what team you're on, but you can metamorph them from one or the other. Now, did you guys play Soul Wars, whether it was back in the day or this new release?
I played it back in the day. I've been kind of wary of going back just because it still seems a little bit buggy, and there are a bunch of different like release bugs that were patched recently, but like there was one where literally out of the 120 players in the game, 119 of them were in one team and one person was on another team. And there's just like a really funny image of him like in the spawn being like, I don't think I'm going to win this, guys.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a little busted.
A couple bugs. I used to play it back in the day a little bit, but it still seems very like imbalanced or unbalanced, as you guys were saying.
I believe the number one gripe from people, this is what I think. I didn't actually play, but what I heard was, since you could pick your own teams, there was like cherry picking, basically like Castle Wars teams that would come and just fill out worlds and only allow in players that were like a certain combat level. So you'd have a team with like essentially max mains with Ellie's, maximum freezing gear, and then you'd have everyone else on the other team, and it was just going to be an absolute stomp in one direction, which makes it not really viable unless you have literally max gear, which isn't what mini games should be about. So that was a little bit awkward. I think the proposed change, I don't know if it actually came through, is where you go into a portal, like the Guthix portal at Castle Wars, and then everyone's just put on a random team.
Yeah, to kind of, exactly. You can even it out a bit.
And I'm sure there's ways that Jagex could like secretly code that so they could see the value of items you have in your inventory and equipped, and then split it up based on like value or, combat level, etc. So that was number one. And also I'm pretty sure the best points per hour was not actually to play the game, was to just bury the bones of your dead friends.
Yeah.
And I think that was best points per hour. So that's a little awkward when you're not incentivized to actually play the game. So they need to fix that too. And I don't know if they have. I've only played the one game of Soul Wars and I was like, nope, I'm out. So also I don't really think the prayer cape has any uses.
Yeah.
I don't know if Magpies would agree with me, but best in slot prayer cape it seems negligible because you're never going to use it for bursting because you're always going to use Mage Arena 2 cape for the damage.
Yeah.
The one place I can find it might have a use, and it wouldn't even be noticeable. It would not even be noticeable. Is what I do sometimes now is since I have 85 agility, at 90 you can do RD rooftops with a boost. So what I do, it's not even going to work that much right now for me. But like I boost and I have my full prayer set up on, so I can my prayer lasts literally like an hour of me just keeping it on with the
cool.
preserve prayer. Now, this wouldn't make that big of a change, but this is the one use I can see where it's like, oh, it's nice having prayer going on as long as possible. I don't know.
Magpies and I think thought that too, but I think that's literally the only thing it's used for. Yeah. I'm not sure if we're like missing something very obvious. But also, then, if that's the case, are you really going to grind out? Because what's the next best in slot? Like RD4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's +6. And then a trim skill cape is +4. So, like, is it really going to make that big of a difference where you want to grind out hours and hours of Soul Wars?
Exactly.
You could just be doing RD rooftops working towards your goal, if that's what your goal is.
Yeah, totally. And again, like, my setup now, I have 85 prayer, and it lasts, I'm not even joking, like an hour of me running around. So having +2, that's gonna be like an hour and 5 minutes. Wow. Okay.
I will say, as a small tangent, getting using like best in slot or like ideal gear setups is one of the things I use for motivation to grind on my account. So recently it's been getting like a max DKs, which involves SGS and along the way getting an armor crossbow. So it's just like a way for me to go for items and be like, yeah, I really, really want this. And I'll probably do the same thing with Inferno. Well, I'll grind out like armor and everything. Not just because I can't just learn Inferno now, just because then I get that gear along the way and it makes it more fun.
Some people will want that. Like, I want the best in slot prayer cape. Is it that useful?
Right.
No, but now I have it. I have the best prayer cape. And just because it's not useful now doesn't mean in a year from now there won't be some content where it's like, yeah, prayer is what you want.
For sure. So I feel like if you use that as a motivation, that's great. And I think a lot of people do that in this game. So why not?
Totally.
Like a master clue motivation is another thing, right? Is it really worth doing the master clue? You could probably just drop it and get another one. Yeah, but then it also helps you work towards a goal, which is, skilling usually.
Yeah.
For master clues.
Definitely. Now going back a bit, Magpie, when you played this back in the day, do you remember enjoying it?
A little bit. It was like way back. I actually have this page pulled up on the wiki that actually breaks down the differences between the old version and the new version. If you want to go,
sure. Let's hear some of the differences.
They were trying to adjust a bunch of stuff following like feedback from like the OSRS players, and also just like they tried to make things more quote unquote suitable for OSRS. So they made it so that games last 10 minutes at most, because like if a team would win big early on, people would just leave and the game would just basically be dead on arrival. So 10-minute maximum game time. A team that reaches 10 avatar kills ends the game early. game will end early if one team's player count drops below half of what it began with. And they also modified like the big Slayer theme that was in the original Soul Wars. So back in the day, Slayer was massive for Soul Wars because it says here like there's a Slayer requirement to damage avatars, and the Slayer requirement began at 100, and you could like reduce it by using soul fragments on the soul obelisk. And like you said, now this was replaced by a damage reduction. So at the start of the game, any damage you do to the soul obelisk is reduced by 100%. So they're immune until you use soul fragments, and then that slowly removes the damage reduction. Instead of killing like the ghosts that you kill now for the soul fragments, they used to be Pyrofiends and Jellies, which were Slayer level locked. Like you needed Slayer levels to kill them. You don't get Slayer experience anymore from Zeal points. You used to be able to buy Slayer experience. So that was another thing that was removed as well. So basically they just tried to like improve the game, streamline it, and like make it more suitable by removing the Slayer escape part of it. So it seems more fun. I'm actually wondering why I don't like give it another chance. But again, it's kind of going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, and you see like a bunch of people want to do it, but are people going to be here like playing it a year from now? Where it's like,
so, that's so I did a bunch of it when it came out, and I like noticed some like immediate problems, and I was kind of surprised that Jagex is still just throwing in these mini games, expecting people to play it, and it's going to be fun for everyone. That they and some people are going to disagree. And on paper, again, it sounds like mini games. Yeah, you should just put this mini game together for fun. Keep it very, like, the rules, for the most part, open. People can go on what teams they want. And then, a meta will be created by the players. But, like, I think just where everyone is at, nobody, like, look at Castle Wars. Back in the day, it used to be packed. I used to do Castle Wars. It was so much fun. I'd be, like, level 70. I'd get my ass kicked by somebody with Ancients. But, like, that's fine because there's so many people my level that I could fight against that it wasn't that big of a deal if there was 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 enemies or people on my team who are leagues higher than me.
Yeah.
But today, a lot of us are more efficient. We can look at something before it's even released and kind of come up with our own meta. And it makes it, if there isn't like rules and like regulations for the mini game, then it's not, it's gonna become like Last Man Standing originally was, where it dies out because players are gonna have an edge that makes it no fun for anyone else. So my immediate notice was that when I played it, people who had the best in slot gear, it's not like they were just stronger than everyone, because you have the best slot gear, you should be stronger, but they were like impossible to kill. There would be somebody who had Justiciar, they would have Elysian, the Elysian Spirit Shield, they'd have whatever, a full defensive setup, and they would go straight for the boss to kill it, and they could tank 5 or 6 other people who are maxed accounts that don't have the best gear, and they would tank whatever we're throwing at them, and they would just like continuously attack the boss. They wouldn't even look. And then if they did die, which eventually they would, if you have like 7 people piling one person, they would throw in a Din's Bulwark, run all the way back to the boss, throw back on their rapier, and then just sit there and poke the person to death. And like,
meanwhile, their friends in full Ancestral with the Kodai and Ellie are freezing and blood barraging anyone trying to get them. Yeah, or even just like, sometimes I didn't even know what everyone else was doing, because I'm sitting there trying to defend our boss from one person, and it would be me and 4 other people trying to defend this person. So they were just like impossible to kill. I was like, I'm surprised. The matches were always stomps. One team would get 5 kills right away, while the other team got 0, and that's what I never saw any teams that were like super close. Like one team has 2 kills, the other team has 3 kills. Oh, this could go either way. I did a handful of matches, and I didn't see any of them go that way.
What Heartless said actually struck like an idea in my head of like, why don't they just make it so that it's 5 on 5 instead of 60 on 60? Because the more people there are, the less committed you are to helping the team win. Like if you're only able to impact 1/60th of a game, on your team instead of 1/5 of the team, like you are obviously going to feel way less responsible for a team winning or losing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a reason that when someone DCs from a game in League of Legends, it's not a good time for anyone.
Right, yeah.
'Cause you're just not going to win a 5v4. Even if you're a better player, for the most part, it depends on what point of the game. Even if you're a better player, just having one extra person to throw their spells and abilities out in a fight when it's 5-on-5 is it's gonna throw a huge wrench to the plan, and it can swing the game in massive ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So even if they're weak, you know what I mean? Even if you lose your weakest player, it's still a massive blow to you.
Yeah.
But if you lose like a couple players in Soul Wars, it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, you don't even notice. And I
You know.
think what it causes, like what it would cause me to do is I would start the game. I would be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do this game. I'm going to defend my boss. And I wouldn't change my strategy because I'm like, I'm going to assume that 50 other people on my team, they have their roles figured out. I don't know if I need to go help collect soul fragments. I don't know if I need to go help kill the enemy boss. I don't know if I need to help, capture graveyards because there's so many people. It's hard to tell what we're lacking in. Whereas if there's 5 people, you can easily just be like, okay, nobody's doing this role. I might go do
It's got some issues. I don't want to be really, really negative, but I don't see it being like more than a niche thing because like you have the rewards, which are like, it's great that they moved the imbues away from Nightmare Zone, but on the other hand, it's like you're still going to go to Nightmare Zone because the amount of tokens you need to imbue the items, like a Berserker Ring or a Slayer Helmet, means you're spending way more time playing Soul Wars, especially because like your points are reduced if you lose the game, which you don't always want to do with a minigame.
You get like 2 or 3.
Yeah, you don't always want to negatively impact a team like that when everybody's like in it just so they can collect tokens. But even then, it's like you're not going to get anywhere near as many imbues done within like 5 hours versus Nightmare Zone, whereas like in Nightmare Zone, you're going to be able to imbue 5 or 6 items in that same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anyone would play if there wasn't a pet?
Even the pet is another problem because you have like a bunch of the pet community, like the pet chasers, who are all whining because they introduced a new pet, which means like now the leaderboards are up for grabs again. Like when it comes to the pet community, everybody wants to be the first person to have all pets, and so when a new pet comes out, now everybody's racing again to be the first person to have all pets, and then they complain because someone got really lucky the first day. But it's like you're basically going for an RNG leaderboard here. Like, what difference does it make? You're going to
that's silly.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, the actual like the allure of a new pet and a pet is something that brings a lot of people to Soul Wars. And I'm not sure I feel like that's a band-aid fix to the minigame. You know what I mean? If people are only doing it for the pet, then it's kind of lame if they don't actually enjoy the minigame.
And I truly think to have a good minigame, like a good minigame ecosystem, maybe you want to call it, but like you want you want players of all types, right? And that's part of the problem with PKing is like there was a point, I think it's better now, but there was a point where like people who PK were so good. So if you wanted to get into PKing, you had to be that good. And it was really hard to get that good without dying and spending a lot of money learning how to PK. And I think Soul Wars...
I'm pretty sure just as a community, we've kind of moved beyond minigames. Minigames is something that has allure to kids that aren't playing games super efficiently. If you think of something like Roblox, where it's just kind of like basically minigames.
Yeah.
It's very like alluring to like a younger crowd, but most of our gamers were old, we're efficient, we enjoy playing RuneScape, and I feel like probably content that has a little bit more to it would be better instead of a minigame. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
Yeah, the most alive minigames are like the ones which are like best to train something. Or
part of the problem is that a lot of the minigames just like aren't that much fun, and they're just like slapped together and thrown in, and Jagex does nothing to try to make them fun. Because when I looked at when I looked at Soul Wars, I like noticed like why don't you like I've played a tons of different MMORPGs in my past, and like I've seen how they do mini games or whatever they want to call it, different game modes, and you look and there's like a lot of mini games do these similar things, but like for some reason Jagex refuses to learn from them, but yet they did it for Last Man Standing. So what I'm trying to say is Destiny, World of Warcraft, they all kind of like standardize the playing field a little bit. Like in World of Warcraft, there's brackets. If you're from this level to this level, you join with the same people in your levels. It's not like you're level 1 and and there's a level 60 and you guys are both going to be in the same.
Yeah, you're right. So there's competition no matter what level you are. You are able to compete with everyone else. That's why a game like League is so good, because it doesn't matter what character you're playing realistically, or you all start the game on the exact same foot. You have 0 gold. You're level 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your choices that influence how the game goes, and that's what people with a competitive mindset really like. It's not that Magpies has a 17 bill bank and can buy every item in the game, so he gets to win. Him and his tank friends get to run through.
I don't have a 17 bill bank.
I know it was an exaggeration, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people with max best in slot that have been playing the game for years don't have a huge advantage over someone who's like level 70.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, I want to go try out, Soul Wars, my full dragon. You're gonna get ice barraged and AGS, and then it's gonna be like, okay, that was fun.
Yeah, I'll come back here when I'm max level. Like, why am I going to waste my time at level 70 here? I was playing Destiny for a bit, Magpies. I know you jumped into that for a bit too. And they do something similar where your gear still matters, but very slightly. Like, they basically bring all the stats to like an even playing field, where like if I have the best gun in the game and Magpies, you have the very beginning gun, mine will be better, but only slightly. For the most part, like you could still kill me with 2 shots with your gun, and I could still kill you with 2 shots with my best gun. And of course, the best gun is still better, but it comes down to skill. If you're better than me at PvP, then you can kill me with like the worst gun in the game, because they've leveled the playing field a bit. So I don't understand why they wouldn't have taken that approach with Soul Wars, where they bring everyone's to the same stats and everyone with maybe different gear setups, and then you can even maybe unlock gear as time goes on. Whatever. I'm getting into like different
or
ideas,
even have like a budget system where it's like everybody starts with like, let's say 500, quote unquote 500 mil, and you have to like pick out the items you want, but they can't exceed 500 mil total, and then people have to like min max and like
that's like CS:GO style.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think if you have less players and you have something like that, you're on an even playing field, and then there's actual strategy involved, rather than just piling and doing like basically what you're describing with the Justicar and the Din's Door is that you're brute forcing a win.
Yeah.
And there's no real skill involved. It's just you just go for the objective and you get it. There's no, okay, well, we're going to have to try this. And if they're there, then maybe we should send someone the other way as a scout or, whatever.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy. And then the only other thing that I'm surprised they didn't do is I saw this again in Destiny. They have a game called Gambit. It's a 5v5 sort of MOBA. It's PvP and PvM. And then it's very similar. You kill monsters, you grab soul fragments, you turn them in for points. Once you get 100 points, a boss gets summoned on your side of the field. First one to kill that boss wins. But they have this thing that I love, which was a catch-up mechanic. So like, and it was frustrating. Sometimes I would be in a huge lead, but they had it so that once going back to what the game mode is, you turn in these soul fragments you get 100 points and you summon this boss. And that's what both sides of the team are kind of working for. But once that boss is summoned and now your team's trying to kill it, the other team can invade. And if they can kill you like PvP style, they heal that boss to full health again.
Yeah.
And it made it really easy for the enemy team that was really far behind to continuously like kill someone on the other team to heal the boss. And then they could catch up. And there's so many times where we had such a huge lead, but then the other team just focused on making it so that we can't win right away. And they were able to like catch up. And it was a catch-up mechanic. And I'm surprised that like...
Catch-up mechanics are tough to balance because you do need incentives for when you fall behind to actually play the game. I'm thinking of League right now. And you do need incentives to get ahead in the early game and not just play passively on like scaling stuff, right? So
I haven't played League in a long time, but what they have, or they used to have, I'm sure they still do, was if a player's doing really well, when they get killed, they're worth more gold now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have a bounty system, and they went way too far in one direction for that, and then they've scaled it back since. But yeah, they're trying to find that balance, and it's hard.
It is hard, but like my point is that all these other online multiplayer MOBAs or MMOs that have battlegrounds and different game modes, they all have these different these factors in their mini games, because they know it's a problem just to throw a mini game together and not have it like, okay, well, we need to make it so it levels out somehow. So like, why not just have it so we all have the same stats when we play Soul Wars? When I kill the enemy boss, my whole team loses a little bit of stats or something. So now the enemy, whoever's winning has like lower stats versus whoever's losing. And then as they get more kills, they'll kind of even out to, I don't know. That was just an idea I was thinking of. Yeah. But my point is that they need to have a catch-up mechanic, because nobody wants to just see that your team's losing and be like, okay, well, we're not going to win. Like, let's just chill and wait for the match to be over. Anywho, I was a little annoyed by how rough it was, I guess, the release, and a lot of people felt the same way. And they just didn't put the thought into like, how can we make the longevity of this be fun past the first week?
Yeah.
And there's a few other gripes where if you want to access it, the portal's in Edgeville. It looks awkward where it is. It's just sitting, around the ruins of where that yew tree is.
Yeah.
In the Soul Wars cape itself, it's a lot of points, but it doesn't, at a glance, you would never know it's a best in slot prayer cape.
Kind of looks like the corrupted gauntlet cape.
Yeah, a little bit without the wings. Yeah, I looked at it and I was like, oh, it looks like a bigger, like it's just one color. It's long. It's kind of flared at the end. It's just the god capes you get from Clue Scrolls. Those cloaks they looked like they should have more prayer. So anyways, I had a bunch of gripes with it, and hopefully they revisit it. Otherwise, it's going to turn like Castle Wars is, right?
Yeah.
Enough bitching on my end. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we move on?
Nope, I think we talked about it enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the 20th year anniversary. So yeah, it's the RuneScape's 20th anniversary. They had a cool little event. Did you guys have a chance to do it?
Not yet, unfortunately.
No, but I'm going to do it tonight, actually, with some friends.
It wasn't too bad. I
notoriously leave these things very late.
Yeah, it's so easy to be like, yeah, I'll just do it later, and then...
No, but I actually will go. So I know, like, we're going to spread out the first day event, like, news for over 2 weeks, so I'll definitely be able to go over it next week.
Yeah, for sure. It's not bad. You go to the Wizard's Tower by Draenor, you get this little gnome child that's going to follow you around, and then you go collect some items, and it brings you to a fun little area at the end. If you're going to do it, enjoy it. Read the dialogue. It's kind of funny. It's meant for fun, and then the rewards you get afterwards look really cool. It's a whole little fashionscape costume, but it looks pretty badass. It's a fun little event there. RuneScape 3 had a whole other shebang going on. They had like Slayer experience boosts, and a whole bunch of stuff. So that they had something similar but different at the same time. Going on to the next dev blog, they did say that they're going to be making some further changes to Soul Wars. They, as you mentioned before, they did some stuff where like maybe you can't select your team; it's randomized for everyone. Little changes that I don't think are going to do enough. We'll see what they settle on. They also said, hey, we want to add more rewards to it. Let's hear your ideas. That's always kind of worrisome, but hey, they can't think of any rewards to add to it, so they want to hear what the community thinks. But the fun part, and rewarding for some, for others not so much, there was an item duplication problem that many believe came from the Soul Wars.
Yep.
They didn't do any rollbacks that I'm aware of, and I remember I was playing when people were discussing this whole duping bug thing that was going on. I don't think anything happened. I think they were able to kind of hopefully quell the madness, but
yeah, they even said there's like a big question mark, especially over Twitter. I went and like checked the tweets when it was happening, and also like I went back now before we started recording, like, and a bunch of people were tweeting it, like the Jagex support Twitter and Mod Ash, and they're obviously like giving very political responses, like we have no plans as of now to do a rollback and stuff. But then they released the game post on the news post on the official website saying like they're not going to plan to roll back the game, and they're not going to. I think maybe what happened is after the Tebow spawn, or after like a bunch of different item dupe glitches, they improved their back-end ability to like detect item dupes and be able to trace the like people who do it. They can like follow the money trail basically, because what they said was like they're able to target only the accounts that are like guilty of actually exploiting the glitch or exploiting the dupe, so they can really easily like deal with them and remove that gold that they brought into the game from their accounts or from whoever's account it's in. Like most likely these guys probably just immediately went and sold the GP on some like illegal website, but it's really easy apparently for them to like be able to track that down and remove the gold directly from the game now. So
that's good. So that all got fixed. No rollbacks. Nobody likes that because the only people get punished for that. Obviously, people get like a pet drop that you now lose, and you're not gonna get that pet drop on the next kill again. So
yeah, or even worse, I had 100k experience of rune crafting that day. So.
Oh,
yeah,
that could have been bad. I guess dodged a bullet there. Okay, next, God Wars instancing. I guess we already touched on that one, so that's great. Many people are stoked for that. Very cool stuff. And then finally, we're moving on to a poll blog that came out, game improvements. So it feels like February is always there. Like, we're going to do some little bit of changes. It's our quality of life month. So maybe that's what they're prepping for. Maybe we'll see some more. So let's go through these real quick. The first one is, should the number of total unique items you have obtained be added to the top of the collection log?
Pretty straightforward, yeah. This is a bunch of like different collection log changes that they're trying to bring out. So
yeah, I don't quite know what that means, to be honest.
So if you go to the collection log and you go section by section, like if you go to Cerberus, it'll say Cerberus kills X, like Cerberus kills 1,000 items, like uniques obtained, like 9, I think is for Cerberus. So it has like the 3 crystals, the pet, the jar of souls, and then like the smoldering stone or something. And so each section of the collection log tracks the number of items. Like Zulrah is another 10, I think, of like mutagens, the 3, 4 uniques, the pet, and the jar. But then what they're saying is they want a total number of uniques, like right at the top of the log.
Not from each individual. Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah.
The next one is, should the color of each section within the collection log change when they have been fully completed? So I guess right now, the individual, so again, let's say Zulrah, once you get all the uniques, it turns green. And then there's a tab for like clue scrolls, a tab for mini games, a tab for bosses. Let's say if you were to complete every single unique for every single boss, then that tab would turn green.
Realistically, who is going to like benefit from this change though? I mean, like, who is going to get every single pet, every single jar, every single unique from every single boss in one section?
Oh, I know.
It's pretty crazy. The text already turns green when you've completed
but
something.
it doesn't do it for the tab, I suppose.
So that seems like enough for me. No, the text doesn't. I'm saying like the numbers do. So like 999 Cerb, if you have all of them, the text will turn green.
If you finish like Cerberus itself, the text in the collection log will turn green.
Yeah.
Interesting. I haven't checked because I have a couple completions, but
yeah,
I don't remember them being green when I checked. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, so you'll see the individual monster will be completed, and then I guess now if you were to get every single monster or every single boss completed, the tab at the top will turn green.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so minor.
You can go and like check this for yourself, because like you can go to like the Rogue's Den section, which if you have a Rogue's outfit, you'll have completed the Rogue's Den section. Then next time you click on it, it'll turn green, but you need to click on it for it to update. Same with like the Hespori, if you have the bottomless bucket and all 3 seeds, or like the fishing outfit if you've done fishing trawler. So pretty minor update.
Yeah, the next one, it would split up challenge modes from Chambers of Zarek, from the Corrupted Gauntlet, from the normal Gauntlet, and right now the Dagonoth Kings. There's 3 bosses there, but they're all in one tab or one name. It's asking if you would rather split those into 3, so you can see each individual Dagonoth King that you killed.
Well, it's not splitting the section, it's just splitting the kill count. Like, it'll show the different kill count within the same section, I think.
Oh, right. So once you go in there. Okay. Again, minor. Question 4. Should Gilded and third Age pieces from Hard, Elite, and Master Clue Scrolls sections be separated into their own section so it's more feasible to complete them? Again, strange, because if you're going to complete the collection log, why do you want to make it easier? I don't quite, it doesn't make any sense. I get Third Age and Gilded are hard to get, but that almost seems like part of the point. If you're going to complete the collection log.
Yeah.
Whatever. Next is a side panel update. They have a picture on the devlog you'll have to see for yourself, but it's kind of cool. There's a little section in your quest tab where it has your quest tab, achievement diaries, Arceus favor, all that. Oh, not Arceus favor. Zaya favor, all that fun stuff. They want to add a new section, which was designed by the infamous Gentle Tractor from Reddit. He's done so many different redesigns. He may as well get paid by Jagex at this point. But this new tab will show your overview of your combat and total levels. It'll show you the total experience gain on this character, an overview of your completed quests and achievement diaries, an overview of your combat tasks, an overview of your collection log. And clicking on this would also open up the collection log. Right now, you need to have a physical book that you open up, which is stupid, but whatever. That is how it is right now. And then there's a button that you can click to show how long you spent in Gielinor. I mean, that should be turned off by default because people are going to start panicking when they see that. But
yeah,
that seems cool. Looks pretty neat if you ask me. Poll question 5. Should we update the side panel as shown in the blog so you can open the collection log from it without needing the book? So expanding on what we kind of just talked about. Seems stupid that you need a book, to be honest, but should a search function be added to the collection log, allowing players to search for specific items or bosses? Question 7. Should a tracker be added to the collection log showing how many times a player has completed the Gnome Restaurant minigame? This question passes. Only new completions after the update will be tracked. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So next is more accurate kill time. So there are many activities and bosses that are old school RuneScape that show you how long it took to complete or defeat them. This currently works by rounding down the time to the nearest second rather than showing the exact time. So this would add milliseconds to it. So it's asking, instead of rounding down to the nearest section, this would allow players to judge their times more accurately based on the game cycle. By default, it should be toggled off. Sounds fine to me.
Yeah, I mean, this will devalue my PB if I have a PB with 0.8 seconds that was rounded down. Now it'll be 0.8 seconds. But no, this is like it's fine as an update. Like,
yeah, speedrunners are shaking in their seats right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty minor there. Next one is the baby mole pet. Right now, it looks like a mini version of the giant mole, but if you ever go to the mole caves, you'll see that there's little baby pink. They're baby moles that are just pink. That's asking if you want to be able to do a transmog using a mole claw onto it. You could revert it as well.
Yeah, it reminds me of Rufus, the naked mole rat from Kim Possible.
Oh, yeah.
So they better have dialogue about that somehow. Like, they need to make like an impossible, unstoppable reference or something. Tacos. Nachos.
What?
You know how, like, in Kim Possible, like, the Ron Stoppable and Rufus's favorite food is, like, they make a nacho, which is, like, a taco made out of nachos.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They need to have, like, some kind of dialogue to reference that.
Huh. I was never big into Kim Possible, so I didn't quite get that reference.
I don't remember it either. I remember watching it.
I
There's
remember
a live action.
I couldn't name any of the characters.
Remember that.
Oh, yeah. That was a good impression. I thought you had, like, a button or something doing that.
Maybe I did. Moving on to Theater of Blood. So no one enjoys accidentally losing their hard or earned loot, but it's easily done if you don't loot the reward chest after killing the last boss. Currently, if you disconnect after completing the Theater of Blood, it's impossible for you to return to the final room to claim the loot in the chest. We'd like to add a small chest outside the Theater of Blood to allow players to claim their loot that they might have missed out on. You would still need to complete the full raid. Any unique drops that would normally be announced to the rest of the raiding party would still be broadcasted, even if you're offline before seeing the chest yourself. Should that be added? Next is... Oh, sorry?
Yes, because someone in our CC has left an Infinity in there and didn't get the money. Yeah, it straight up happened. So... Because you get so excited and you just forget to take it from the chest. Like, it's a perfectly fine mistake. And, it does not feel good after. And it feels a little weird.
Yeah, that's 52 mil. That's crazy. Damn, that sucks. So, yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. Poll question 10. Sorry, nope. Poll question 11. They want to add... So, right now, I want to say every boss, but apparently not every boss. Every boss has a jar of something. It's like a very rare drop that you can use with your player-owned house to have like a, I don't even know what you want to call it, a display of that boss. And yeah, every boss has one, and it's rare. So Iron Man is pretty cool. You can show it off to your house, even though you can't have anyone in your house, so it's kind of pointless to begin with. But yeah, and I say almost every boss because apparently the Corporeal Beast does not have one. So they ask, should we add one? Yeah.
Here's like, the problem is jars are like really meme drops because they're really rare and they're really low value. So if you're a main, you don't really want to see one because they're like really cheap. And if you're an Iron Man, it doesn't really matter because nobody can see your like house anyway, so there's no reason to display them. I had this idea for jars that would actually make them super cool. Yes, and I wish Jagex, like, someone should send Jagex a soundbite to this, because listen up. What if the jars, like, RuneScape has fads, okay, like, a couple years ago it was Slayerscape. Then we had, like, weird pet recolor phase, where it's like every skilling pet needs, like, a recolor. You use, like, acorns on Squirrel, you use a dark acorn to recolor it. You have like the different seeds that you give to Rocky, the Tangaroo update, all that stuff. Now we're in like this wall kit fad of like you can change the way your POH looks, which in my opinion is great. We need more like ways to customize aesthetic wise, like our POH, stuff like that. Why don't you make it so that you can use your jar somewhere in your POH and it'll completely give you a new like wall kit redesign. So if you have like the Cerberus one, it like redesigns your walls to match like the lava floor of the POH thing that we have now. So those can kind of match. If you have the Corp Jar of Spirits, maybe it looks like a bunch of different ghosts around. Maybe the Smoke Devil one just adds like the weird neon yellow aesthetic to it. And that would make it so much cooler. It's such a better drop. It'd increase the value of jars, make them worthwhile, and it would like give people freedom to pimp out their house.
Jars, they were such a missed opportunity. If they were untradeable, they would be so cool.
Yeah.
But, you know, they suck to get on an Iron Man too, because I got the Zulrah one. It's just like, really?
Yeah, it's hard to get excited.
It's like, okay, I got it. I know I'm not saying like could have been the pet, but you know what I mean. It's just you get a rare drop and you're like, oh, that's genuinely useless. But I display it with pride in my house, and I see it.
You can make the Zulrah jar like a weird shrine to Zulrah, because that's the whole lore. Is like Zulrah controls your mind and makes you worship her. You can make like Kraken a weird like fisherman's like cave aesthetic.
It would be cool.
There's definitely potential to increase the value somehow of getting a jar in your name.
Well,
there has to be some way to
when
do
jars
that,
came out, they said it was going to be this new secret, like quote unquote secret use that nobody was able to do yet. And I think maybe they just like moved on from that. Maybe the POH display was the secret use, but that's kind of bad in that case. That's a really underwhelming way to use them.
It's not particularly secret. They're on display. I'm not sure. I don't like them.
It's funny because when they first came out, or when these bosses came out, they had the jars, and the jars, they were a secret. They had no use, but they sold for like 5 mil. They were worth so much money because people are like, man, there's got to be something sweet that they're going to release with this. And then they release, okay, we're going to bring out displays for a player-owned house, and then the price of them just crashes because people are like, well, that's stupid. I don't want it. That's like $60K value right there. Like, why the hell?
Some of the coolest ones were so cheap as well.
It's silly, and it's almost like it reminds me of the bird's eggs you get from the bird's nests. Back in the day, they never had a use, but you would collect them because you're like, they're gonna have some cool use, so I may as well, and they're untradeable, so I'm gonna keep them. And then RuneScape 3, I think you can get pets with it or something. They got some something.
You can get the god pets and the ravens from them.
So you can get those. And then in old school RuneScape, they're like, you can trade them for another bird's nest roll, and you're like,
yeah, it kind of sucks.
Oh yeah, or you can get this chicken suit. You're like, wow, that looks silly.
More bank space used up. Great, thanks.
Yeah. Anyways, it's a shame. So.
Oh, speaking of which, did you know that that's like 2 questions down?
Oh, really? That's hilarious. We're gonna be talking about that. What are they gonna do? Let's figure that one out. But next, it's should junk drops such as tinderboxes, fire talismans, and bullseye lanterns from the thermonuclear smoke devil boss be made rarer, improving the overall average value of the drop? What?
So they want to make the really bad drops because sometimes like Thermi will just drop a tinderbox and like troll you.
Yeah.
So they want to make those rare, which means that you'll get the more valuable items more common. So on average, you're going to be making more money because you're going to be getting less meme drops.
Seems so unnecessary because you already make decent money.
I think this is just going to like lower the value of the uniques, even if the rarity of the uniques doesn't change. The way if you're thinking about things from like an economics perspective, the way uniques are priced kind of reflects the other items on the drop table. And if you have a really
the occult isn't. I don't think the occult's priced by Thermi though. It's from the base.
Well, you would also I don't know the exact numbers, but maybe it's 50-50 in terms of the amount of occults that come into the game for mains coming from Thermi versus coming from a normal Smoke Devil. So I don't know, but
I don't know. I think it's probably a lot more from the babies because most people burst them.
Yeah.
For what I can tell, anyways. But either way, I agree with you. Like the smoke battle staffs are already not worth anything.
Yeah.
Right? What's it worth?
It's like 2 mil, I think. This isn't going to make like
1.6.
I don't think this is going to make the smoke battle staff more common. But what I'm saying is like when a boss's drop table improves and it becomes a better boss to grind, the GP per hour will normalize. Like the GP per hour will normalize to be the same as it is now.
It's already an easy boss to kill, and it's already like gives decent money. I don't see a point, of making it, of even tinkering with it. I think it's fine where it is, to be honest. But
plus, like this will make it even more annoying when you get a tinderbox, because like now you take it for granted you're just gonna get like a random tinderbox or a bullseye lantern like every other kill, and you're like, oh, whatever, it's the boss's drop table. But if it's even rarer, when you do get one, you're gonna be like, oh, really? This is the junk I got this time?
Yeah. Oh.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Thermi's drop table is essentially useless except for the 2 items, though. Right?
No, there's like there's a bunch of cool, like you'll end up with a fair amount of smoke runes. You'll end up with a bunch of alkables, rune chain bodies, and stuff like that.
Okay. So it's a little bit on there.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of alkables that are decent, bunch of runes, coal, magic logs, gold ore, diamonds. It reminds me of like a not as good, but it's kind of like similar to Kraken.
Yeah. Kraken drops sand fuse though.
Kraken's not bad actually.
Good money, easy to kill. Thermonuclear is that, but just not as much. It's not as easy to kill, and it's not as great loot, but it's still up there. Strange that they're going to change it. The next question they want to have is that should there be, and going back to the bird's nest, should there be a small chance to receive birds' eggs nests when emptying a full bird's house? This change will not impact the amount of seeds nests you would otherwise receive. A lot of these are like, okay, is this somebody coming to Jags? This is a problem we need to address. Question number 14. Right now, the Amulet of Blood Fury has 10,000 charges. Before it breaks, should we increase that to 30,000? Is that what it says? Wait, you'd like to impose increase, man? Yeah, should we increase that to 30,000? So
this isn't for the blood shard itself. It's just how much the blood fury can actually hold in terms of like you can charge it with 3 blood shards now.
Smart. Yeah, I like that change.
Right.
If it was changing the shard, I would say no, because that devalues the shards.
True.
But yeah, why not? Shards are going for a pretty penny right now. 9 mil, right?
8.2.
Pretty decent.
Yeah.
Next question. Should it be possible for Patchy the Pirate to combine Dark Claws from Scotizo with... Should it be possible to combine Dark Claws from Scotizo and Flippers from Mogers to create Dark Flippers? These will be black and purple.
Yes.
It's great for Fashionscape. I wonder if this would help you underwater.
It will. It says it maintains the same functionality.
Oh, it says it right there. It's cool stuff.
That'd be cool. I like that.
Player-owned house stash tracker. Should players with level 40 construction be able to create a stash unit tracker within their house as a new option for the wall chart? Upon clicking the stash unit tracker, an interface would open showing the players where all the stash unit locations are, whether they have built and filled them. So when you're doing clue scrolls and you get an emote clue, you need usually like 1 to 3 items that you need to wear and you have to do an emote somewhere. There's a lot of clues, which took up a lot of space. So a way they found to combat that was putting these little stash units all around Gielinor where you can put the clue items into, so that when you're doing the clue, you just have to go where that stash unit is, pull out the items, do the emote, put the items back in, and you don't have to worry about taking up a crazy amount of bank space.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that, because a lot of people just go and fill out all the stash units before they grind.
And then RuneLite will tell you when you've created it. Wiki, you can do a little check mark for the ones you've created, so you can keep track of it that way. So having it in game, that makes sense.
Yeah. The Watson's chart is by far the best way to do it, though.
Yeah, totally.
So if that was in the house, that'd be nice.
Next, the master clue step within the Vieldi Caves is infamous for being very time-consuming to reach. We'd like to propose by speeding this up slightly by adding a shortcut that allows players to scale down the cliff rather than navigating their way to the bottom. This shortcut would require 91 agility and long ropes from the Darkmire General Store. Okay, they're adding in a new type of rope. Is that what's happening here? I am not familiar with this clue step, so
that's Dragon's Eye, I think.
This is like one of the worst clue steps in the game, pretty much, where you have to like go through the entire Legends Quest cave and you have to like bring all the items with you, like a pickaxe, maybe a lock. No, I don't think you need a lockpick, but you need a pickaxe, you need runes to cast Charge Orb, you need a bunch of stuff, and then you have to go all the way around. I'm thinking of the right one.
Let me check.
Yeah, it's the worst clue step. It's up there. Skullball and Dagonoth Kings are also pretty bad, but this one is... Are they saying, so when you've cast Charge Orb, you are on the top of that huge cliff thing? Is that what they're suggesting you skip, like the 6 agility shortcuts? Because honestly, if that's the case, it's going to be slower going to the general store to buy a long rope. And that's just another thing you have to do.
It's not really going to be slower, because like the Darkmire General Store, like you have a teleport right there, don't you? So...
I mean, sure, but that just seems like the step still sucks because you have to bring all that other stuff.
It could be like there's some grapple shortcuts that once you do it once, the grapple's there forever. They have a rope you can climb. I would hope this is the same thing.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Yeah.
91 agility is steep too.
It's steep, and why the Darkmire General Store? Why not have this available from the Legends Guild, right?
Yeah, or the Shiloh Village.
Shiloh, yeah, the Darkmire. That seems so unrelated. Like, add it to the Legends Guild. You know, they have...
Yeah, it's an atrocious clue step. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, so I guess they want to make it still terrible to do by making you go to Darkmire instead of somewhere that's more lore fitting.
Yeah, this is the problem when it comes to like Jagex polls is like when you have to vote yes or no on things with no nuance, there's no way to say no but this or yes but this. Like this is one of the poll questions where it's like you like the outcome but you don't like how they're achieving it with like the weird long ropes from a totally different location.
Yeah.
I think this sucks. I think it doesn't even make it better at all. It just adds another thing you have to bring. And the amount of player base is doing master clues that have 91 agility. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's
so minimal.
Yeah, bizarre. And the thing is, you want to say yes, and then we'll just ask them to change it. But unless other people care enough to help you champion this cause, it's just going to get buried. And
it's still a groan of a clue step whenever you get it. So.
Yeah, it's silly. Like I don't know. Anyways, weird. Moving on, they want to categorize more monsters as demons. So should they include Bloodvelds, Ice Fiends, Water Fiends, Pyro Fiends, Pyre Lords, and Parazdir by classifying them as demons in game to match the lore surrounding them. This would also cause items with bonuses towards demons to be effective against them, such as the Arc Light.
Yep.
Vesta, next is the Vesta's Longsword. It was originally introduced alongside the Bounty Hunter rework, but guess what? Bounty Hunter got removed. And it could only be used in Bounty Hunter worlds, I believe. So having such a prestigious and nostalgic item remain in game with no purpose feels little like a missed opportunity, because right now you can still get it from Last Man Standing, apparently. They want to add it by making it available in PvP worlds.
Seems kind of like redundant for it to be so limited, but at the same time, like this was one of the most controversial weapons in the game. I don't think it should be expanded on. Like, it's a very slippery slope that they've been trying to force it in every time.
It's failed 3 times, the polls.
And every time there's people...
This is clearly we don't want it.
It's too strong.
So.
It needs... Just limiting it to PvP worlds doesn't do anything.
25% spec is ridiculous. It's just so powerful.
Yeah, it's very strange. Next question, though, regarding the Nightmare of Ashiyama. So there's Parasite mechanic in Ashiyama, and they're asking, should the Parasite mechanic in the Nightmare of Ashiyama encounter be changed so the amount they heal is more consistent rather than rolling a random number between 1 and their maximum amount until they are killed? Magpie, you give the thumbs up to this one?
This literally doesn't change anything. Like, on average, it'll be the same amount. If they use the average amount of HP, it'll just mean that there's less variance in the kill, which I'm normally not a big fan of. It does suck to, like, see it heal for, like, an 80 or whatever sometimes, but on the other hand, sometimes it'll heal for, like, a 3, so it balances out. This literally doesn't accomplish much.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm probably going to vote no, just because, like, I like more variance in things when it comes to, like, bosses.
Yeah, I agree. That's a fair point. Next one, going back to Soul Wars, they want to add some blighted items to it. So they did this with Bounty Hunter and then it got removed, so then they moved it all to Last Man Standing. Blighted items are items that can only be used in the wilderness. This is usually food, or they also have, takes up 1 inventory slot and you can cast a spell with it. So these items that they want to add is Blighted Bind, Blighted Snare, Entangle, Teleports, Vengeance, Ancient Ice, which I assume are just the barrages and stuff.
Barrage.
Yeah, Carom Bombs, Manta Rays, Angler, Super Restores. You cannot sell these back for Zeal. So should they add... Should all the blighted items available in Last Man Standing also be added to the Soul Wars store? They'd all cost 6, and it would not be possible to sell it back. And also to follow up, if they are added into the game, should it be possible to use the spell stacks within the minigame? It would not be possible to use the blighted food or potions. I mean, I guess so, but Soul Wars is like not really. I don't even consider that like a PKing minigame.
It's not the same as a wilderness. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can bring a rune pouch, so it doesn't without chance to lose it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, true.
So I'll probably wouldn't. That doesn't matter. But yeah, why not just chuck them in the store?
The only thing I'd be worried about is if this causes. I don't know how much this plays an effect on how much the points are worth for Last Man Standing, but I hope that this wouldn't affect it and cause Last Man Standing.
I feel like Last Man Standing people, if you're going efficient, you buy different things, not the blighted supplies. They're actually quite expensive right now. So,
next one is with the upcoming release of A Kingdom Divided, they are reworking the Arceus spellbook, and they're going to introduce ways to train prayer by allowing players to scatter demonic ashes for a prayer experience. Blah 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 blah. They want to make the Ectoplasmator from Soul Wars. They want to make it so you can charge it with soul runes. Each soul rune would give 100 charges. It will automatically scatter ashes. And when ashes are scattered, 1 charge is used. The ashes scattered will give half the usual prayer experience. Should this be a thing?
I honestly don't know. I can't answer this one.
I don't know either.
So I'll probably skip it.
It turns it into a bone crusher. So it's like if you're a main, you're training Slayer, like AFK Hellhound, just think you're gonna get like some minor prayer experience. So it's not gonna be too big of a difference either way, but it's just like a slight buff to AFK prayer training while you're like 0 time passively training Slayer.
Yeah. For me, it's just it adds into the consistency part where you have the Bone Crusher for bones that comes from diary rewards, and then you have this Ectoplasmator that comes from a minigame. Whatever though. Seems again very minor. Moving on, continuing with Soul Wars. Soul Wars introduced a new island. That's where the minigame takes place. But the minigame only takes up a section of that island, causing the rest of the island to not be used. So they want to make it so that people could still use the island for skilling. So there's mining spots, fishing spots, hunter spots, monsters to kill, nothing crazy. The strongest would be moss giants, but there's also sand crabs. And there's be imp spawns and anvils and all that fun stuff all around. So they would also add some clue scroll steps to this island. I don't think this wouldn't be part of the mini game, but you could, instead of joining the mini game, you can go venture off into this. So should we add what they're calling the Isle of Souls to be updated to allow players to do skilling on this island?
I've noticed like there's one, like if you read between the lines, there's some clues that they give us, like they're giving a new place to 2 tick teaks, and they say 3 teak trees are found to the north. A number of low level NPCs are nearby. I guarantee they mean like there's like rats or birds or something that you can use to 2 tick teaks, which we were talking about, funnily enough, at the beginning of the episode. But like,
yeah.
Aside from that, maybe a better place to like train hunter, because it's like really accessible from Edgeville. You just teleport there and there's a bunch of birds and chinchompas that you can catch when you're low hunter. It seems like pretty redundant content. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it doesn't really do much. It's not going to be dead, so to speak, because you can go there and there's still some stuff to do, but it doesn't really add much to the game.
Sure, yeah.
There's a buildable pottery and spinning wheel, I guess.
I don't. It's all to me. All it is like giving you access to this island that otherwise was empty space.
Yeah. Sure.
Nothing much changing, I guess. But one thing they do want to add as well is a dungeon where you can kill shit. So in this dungeon, there'll be skeletons, lesser demon, greater demons, fire giants, blue dragons, baby blue dragons, and 1 iron dragon.
I just realized, sorry, but this might make a new like EHP method of training woodcutting, depending on like how far away the mahogany trees from the teak trees are. I don't know if 2 ticking mahoganies will be a thing, but if so, I'd be interested to see how the experience rates for those go, because that could be game changing for like all the EHP sweat lord skillers who like cry when a new experience, like best experience rate, comes out.
Interesting.
Well, they're such a small group of people
I guess we'll have to see. But going on with that dungeon seems fine too. Like having more places to train is fine. Yeah, it's not going to do anything different. So, but at the end of it, there's a level. There will be a level 28 thieving chest that can be looted for 150 experience and a number of items with an average value of 700 GP. This chest has a low chance of rewarding an untradeable old key that can be taken to the crumbling tower basement to unlock a more lucrative chest with a better loot table. Man, we love loot crates in this game, I'm telling you. So the question is, should we add a variety of monsters into this dungeon that can be Slayer tasks from Konar as well? And then they want to ask, in that dungeon, should there be 2 adamant and 1 runite ore to mine? They would be pretty far away from a bank, and you have to navigate through monsters. And then finally, in this dungeon, should they have the thieving chest that gives you GP as well as that key? All seem good. I would hope that thieving chest, you could actually get a fair amount of experience. I'm not sure if you would. It doesn't actually seem like it, but
yeah, if it's anything like the grubby chest, they think about what that impacted in the game was like mostly hardcore Ironmen and stuff going for brews early game.
Right.
And like if you watch like PvP locked series, they're always going for brews at the grubby chest. So those are like the only people that really used it. And this kind of reminds me of something. It just depends on the loot table, of course.
And then finally, the last section is the Crumbling Tower, which is where that new chest would be, where you get the old key for. In this Crumbling Tower, there'll be new monsters. There'll be 10 Forgotten Souls. These are new ghosts that act similar to Chaos Druids, but are slightly stronger and have a marginally improved loot table. And then there's a basement.
For Ghost Slayer task, I guess.
Yeah, true. And then with that Ecto, whatever it's called, you can get some experience from that as well. Who knows?
Plasma, yeah.
Yep.
So there's also a basement in this Crumbling Tower. It is accessed via a trapdoor on the ground. Down in the basement, there are 4 chests that are unlocked by using an old key. Key is consumed when it's looted. These chests have a significantly better loot table than the one found in the dungeons and rewards 1.5k experience and a number of items with an average value of 30k GP. So the first question is, should we add the 10 Forgotten Souls to the Crumbling Tower? And should we add this new chest that requires the old key to unlock them? Cool. I mean, yeah, why not? Sure. It seems like mid-level content, but if this is just something new
alternative to killing ghosts.
Yeah, and if it gives something new for new players to stumble upon, that's always fun. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these seem okay to me. The Vesta Longsword is thrown randomly in there, and that's the only like big red flag, but everything else seems pretty minor.
Yeah, it's not going to pass, in my opinion.
No, I see even PKers. If PKers is complaining about it, then you know it's it's no fun for anyone.
It's way too strong.
Yeah, so a lot of fun stuff there. So that's all the updates that we got going on so far. And I just want to make a quick mention. Somebody pointed it out, but a few episodes ago, I mentioned that Last Man Standing Prime event, and I had like questions where like I signed up for it, but I don't remember hearing anything about it. There's a video somebody pointed to, so shout out to 98i, or maybe that's an L, I don't know. But the video basically said that Jagex really dropped the ball on this one. They sent it to players' emails for their RuneScape account to access a Discord channel, which is where they held this event, but there wasn't enough people who joined the Discord server for the event. So it was just a huge flop. Yeah, big oof. They made an event and then not enough people showed up to the event to actually do it. So damn shame. It seemed like a clusterfuck. But that's just a little update there. But anyways, let's move on to some housekeeping before we get on out of here. First thing I want to say is a thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. You guys help fund the show every single month because there are some monthly fees that come a part of it. So we're going to give a little shout out for our Patreon supporter of the week, which is, trying to pull it up here.
Drum roll.
Pledged by Sean. So Sean, thank you very much, my dude, for supporting the show. And thank you to everyone else who does support the show every single month as well. You guys are amazing. If you want to hang out with us,
like a song?
What's that?
Would you like a song request, by the way? I have one lined up.
I have one as well.
Oh, okay. You do it this week.
You know what?
You do it this week.
I did it last week, but we'll flip a coin.
Okay.
So, anyways, if you want to hang out with us in game, you can do that at Wild CC. It's our clan chat. We have a Discord. You can find that on Twitter at The Wilderness RS. And of course, if you want to send us an email, you can do that at thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. Yes, there we go. And because it was the 20th anniversary, I asked you guys on Discord and on Twitter to send some stories of what RuneScape means to you. Next week, we're going to read a few of my favorites or our favorites that we see. So you can go ahead and send us through our email or on Discord or on Twitter. Just make sure it's obvious enough for me to see it when you do that. Okay, let's flip a coin.
You have it. I'll go next week.
Yeah, okay. So when I was doing my clue scrolls, I came across a awesome soundtrack because I've been playing with the music on more often. And if you're going to do the 20th anniversary, I think it's only fitting that you have to play with the music on as you walk around Gielinor. It's a short walk, but it'll be fun. You'll get hit with some nostalgia. So I found the song as I was doing clue scrolls, and it's called "Have an Ice Day." It's a pun on "Have a Nice Day." If you didn't realize that one,
if you didn't catch on,
it's the song that is unlocked on the iceberg during the Cold War quest. And I'll tell you right now. Boom, Jagex needs some themed raiding places. Do the iceberg, an ice-themed raid. That's not good enough. You can do a pirate-themed raid, or even in Fremenix, you can do a Viking-themed raid. I was fantasizing about different raids coming out in the future. But anyways, this song came out in 2007, January 29th. And it's composed by Adam Bond. And that's it. I guess that's all we have for this episode. So we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Shout out to Possible.
See you later.
Call me, beat me if you wanna reach me.